Hi, I'm Jolene Ivy, Chair of the Prince George's County Council. Welcome to Council Conversations. Today we have a wonderful guest, Millard House, who is the Superintendent of Prince George's County Schools. And of course, our first question is going to come from our Vice Chair, Sidney Harrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Superintendent House, for joining us this morning. We're talking education today. And
very convenient since he's the head of that.
That's right. I mean, just knowing that there's over 132,000 students in the Prince George's County Public Schools and over 20,000 employees, we realize that Prince George's County is in the top 20 for school infrastructure of the size of it across the United States of America. So we're sitting amongst greatness, as we see. But we want to talk about transportation this morning. As you know, transportation has definitely been a huge thing in the Prince George's County Public Schools, the budgeting of it, school starts times. We know that you started off with 13 different start times in Prince George's County for our children, but you have consolidated that down to 6. How's that working out?
Well, first of all, thank you, Chair Ivy and Vice Chair Harrison, to just for the opportunity to be here and, as you indicated, talk conversation. And as you indicated, transportation has been a long-standing issue. And as you look at a number of school districts across the country, a lot of people don't realize that even though we're in the top 20 in terms of enrollment in the United States, we're actually in the top 10 in terms of ridership.
Wow.
So 85,000 students actually ride our buses. To give you an example, in my previous experience, school district of 200,000, we were only transporting about 20,000 students. So it's definitely something that is daunting, but it's extremely important. I've had even conversations with some of you around the importance of what that looks like in terms of transportation for every parent that needs that piece. You mentioned you mentioned 13, but we actually had 17 different start times.
Wow.
Quite frankly.
Well, was part of that in order to stagger things so that the buses could get everywhere they needed to go?
I think a part of that was just a build-on effect over time. Here's a new program, here's a new start time, here's a new program, here's a new start time, versus the idea of really bringing it all back in and doing a reset. So that's kind of what we've done. We have moved forward, in this audit, ordered an audit of exactly what it is that we were doing in transportation, and that audit has paid dividends. We're seeing improvements. As you know, we adjusted those bell times down to 3, actually. So that has made a significant uptick in the right direction in terms of the balance of our trips, both in the morning and the afternoon. Now, but remember, the changes to school start times are modest. This is going to be a 5-year rollout. So the start times will start this year, and then we'll focus on some other pieces as we move forward. No school changed more than 45 minutes. So we know that parents have lives. We know that these adjustments can be significant in terms of their daily activity, their routine. About 20% of our schools had no change at all. We had another 60% that shifted about 15 minutes, and less than 8% that shifted anywhere between 16 and 30 minutes when it was all said and done. Still, just with those changes have led to the kind of improvements that we want to see in the right direction. We actually do a quarterly report to the board, and we'll love to share that information with the council as well, so that you all can see what those improvements look like over the course of time. We've also improved ridership. So one of the things that we hate to see is a bus rolling down the road that only has 5-6 kids on it. So it's important that the ridership is up. So we've seen a nearly 13% increase in the right direction in terms of the kids, and actually we call it butts and seats. So that is something that has improved as well. So we're definitely heading in the right direction, but I think one of the biggest things that we'll really have to contend with is bus drivers. There's still a shortage of over 180 some odd bus drivers. So as budget season comes around, we're going to have to really focus our efforts on what we need to do different. What we're going to stop doing. We know that at the state level it's probably going to be a flat year. So we're going to have to make those adjustments, and attract more people into those seats.
Well, I know that there's been discussion in the past about using public buses, like use the bus or maybe use Metro, whatever you need to do so that kids can get to school. And you take high school kids, if you take them off the school buses and let them go for free, we make that arrangement with the public buses, that would free up a bunch of buses and bus drivers for the other schools. Is that something you all are considering these days?
It is definitely, and Chair Ivy, you're spot on. It's definitely something that is being considered. Actually, something that's being piloted now as well. So the bus is being utilized, not for all, but some of our secondary.
How is that
options.
working out?
I'll have to take a look at I haven't seen the actual data to see how many are taking the opportunity and really running with it. No pun intended, but we definitely want to consider what it can look like at scale.
I do have a question, though. You talked about the need of bus drivers. How do you get that word out to the community that you are hiring new bus drivers, what the qualifications are, and what is the expectation, honestly? Because finding bus drivers, as you know, has been a bit of a challenge over the last couple of years. What new innovative things are you doing to attract bus drivers to Prince George's County Public
So
Schools?
on the HR side, we're advertising any and every method we can. We utilize a lot of social media. We are advertising in our different strip malls with standalone signs. We're on billboards, doing a little bit of everything to get the word out. Opportunities like this is extremely helpful.
Yeah.
But more than anything, year round, we're looking for individuals that want to come in and acquire the training to get their CDL to be a bus driver. The number of drivers available still remains a major challenge, not just in Prince George's County, but across the country. But we've got to focus on what this looks like in Prince George's County.
Well, the DC Circulator bus is shutting down, so it's bad for them, but perhaps we can benefit by picking up some of their drivers.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. We'll definitely do our best to pick up on that opportunity.
Well, I did want to ask you a different topic is cell phones in schools. Now, we've seen this pop up around the country. I personally think it's a great idea to just take cell phones away from kids when they're in school. Like at the end of the day,
Can I get some on that?
at
there?
the end of the day, fine, have your phone back. But during the day, I just find that they seem to be more of a distraction than they are a help. I know parents are concerned because they like to be able to reach their child anytime, but cell phones did not exist when I was in school, and somehow we muddled through. But you were able to focus more on the education and less distractions with social media. And I know that as a council, it's something that we're considering as far as encouraging the state to make that decision for our school system. We don't, of course, control the schools.
Yeah.
So we, send that to the state to take on. But what have you heard, and what are you all looking at?
So it's interesting. I was just telling this story to my 13-year-old middle schooler, explaining to him that my freshman year in college, there was one phone on our hallway.
Right.
And you put a quarter in it.
Yeah.
And or you had a calling card that you utilized that your parents may have given you. Of course, that's not the direction that we're moving. But personally, as a superintendent, I view cell phones as the great disruptor. And social media, as you indicated, Chair Ivy, is a major disruption. Everything from the threats that we've seen have really made the kind of disruptions that we don't want to see in our schools, we don't want to see in our public as a whole. But what I will say is that in our annual surveys that go home to parents, feedback from the communities kind of says the opposite, that they're not interested in the idea of cell phones being pulled out. So we did have a task force that was taking a close look at this, that did not move forward with a recommendation this past year to change policy. The task force reviewed new processes, opportunities. But what I will say, just in the last week, in conversation with my other 23 colleagues across the state, superintendents, I think a number of them feel that same way in terms of the disruptions. It's also being taken up at the state level. So it will be on the next state board meeting agenda to have conversations. There's been 5 states in the union, I believe, 5 or 6 states that have moved forward at the state level to say cell phones. And there's a couple different ways that you can do it. There's the pouches that can be, individual pouches, and then the collective pouches where, during lunchtime you may be able to utilize them, or, at the end, not until the end of the day. So it's a vibrant conversation that's happening at the state level, that's happening in a number of school districts. Now, what I will say, we did decide to go ahead and pilot it. So we have a handful of schools where we're doing it right now.
Really?
And we'll be able to gather and utilize that data shared with the state as well as they move forward to make some decisions.
Speaking of data collection and the task force that you were talking about, right? Have you recognized that cell phones may or can cause some sort of cyberbullying or gaslighting or things of that nature
They
that
contribute, that's
cause
for sure.
to some sort of bullying? Because bullying has definitely evolved of the different attacks that it has, and we want to protect our children, make sure that they're pursuing every educational pursuit that they want to pursue. And when those things happen, I think it really hurts their confidence and their ability to evolve in their journey.
Vice Chair, I think the data tells us nationwide that a majority of the bullying that has occurred via social media. So while it has been the external great disruptor, it's also been the internal great disruptor, because social media is sometimes the non-viewable, to the outside. Sometimes it's just to a small audience, and internally for a student that can make huge damage to who they are and what they are. So it's definitely been a major issue.
Thank you.
Well, I encourage you all, whatever you can do to help keep our kids safe, we really appreciate it. I am curious, though, if you could tell me which schools are piloting.
I'll get you the list. I don't want to.
Are they all high schools?
I think most of them are high schools, but we may have a middle school or two.
Okay,
Yeah.
I would love to
We'll
hear
get you that
about
list.
that. Okay, and I'll kick it over to you, Mr. Vice Chair.
I appreciate it. So one of the things I know Prince George's County Public School has been doing has been a trailblazer across this nation for school construction, infrastructure. You have over 208 schools, definitely a backlog worth of infrastructure challenges. And we were able, along with the Prince George's County Public Schools, Prince George's County Council, the executive branch, and the state, to be able to find out how we become a more nimble government, correct? And so you have built, under your watch, just 6 new schools turned keys and opened up. And now we have 8 more schools on the horizon for new school construction. Do you want to talk about the P3 model and what's exciting happening in Prince George's County?
And let me be clear, being here
Turnkey.
the
turnkey.
last 12, 13 months as a new superintendent of this district, this is something that was probably one of the most joyous opportunities to walk into. And the grunt work had happened before I got here. The previous CEO, Monica Golson, the council, as well as at the state level, a number of delegates really came together to make this happen. From a historical standpoint, one of the things that jumped out to me is that there was a 30-year pause in terms of construction in our school system. And when you think about a 30-year pause, there's going to be issues in terms of this infrastructure. There's going to be issues in terms of deferred maintenance. But this is an opportunity to really move forward and take that backlog that we've had and really make some things happen. This year, as you indicated, we opened 2 new middle schools, which William worked, as well as Ellen Ochoa. On the first day of school, we had the opportunity to be there and watch those kids walk into that brand new building at Ellen Ochoa. As you mentioned also, so far this school year, we've had groundbreakings of, I think, 4 of 8 that we will be having. The Blueprint Phase 2, like I said, is a welcomed addition to our community, and we expect none other than the best state-of-the-art, most modern, innovative learning spaces that are spacious, that have outdoor learning areas, advanced technology, green spaces. We talk about the idea of a school that has that can really power itself when it's all said and done. It saves on everything that we're doing. So it's an exciting, phase 2. Be just as exciting as phase 1, and we're looking forward to opening these brand new schools to our community and for our schools.
Well, speaking of green, right? Ellen Ochoa, I know at least, is one school that is like really net zero or something close to it. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. And it's something that we really do need to do across the board, not just with our schools, but everywhere.
And it's not something that you're seeing collectively across the country in the manner that's happening in PGCPS. We're a trailblazer in this space.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And when I say we,
right.
I mean the collective effort that has happened to make
Well,
this
it
happen.
saves so much money on utilities, and it saves the environment, so it's such a win-win. I don't know what the additional cost might be when you're initially constructing it, but overall the years that the school is open, it's got to be a massive savings.
Absolutely. Just alone at Ellen Ochoa, like we indicated, we've got a building that's being powered via geothermal. We've got solar energy systems that generate 111% of the school's needed energy. As you indicated, that's going to be a huge savings when it's all said and done. Several additional schools that are under construction will have very similar setups when it's all said and done, thanks in part to more than $3.4 million in grants that we received through the Maryland Energy Administration for the work. So this is exciting, and we've got to keep this momentum going in the right direction.
Absolutely. And PGCPS is the first in the state to have a comprehensive climate action plan. Tell me, what are you doing in that space and why?
So I have had the opportunity to work with one of our board members that is just a huge advocate, and one of the individuals that has really pushed the dial here, Pam Hoosier Strutters, is an individual that I'm really thankful in terms of her leadership around this area. Her commitment to this green initiative in our schools is huge. There's also board member Kenneth Harris that has really moved the dial here as well, who serves as our chair of the Climate Action Plan Committee, and dozens of parents as well as students. And sometimes as adults we try to do it, but it's important to bring our students along. And we've had a number of students that had input in this process that explained to us what's important, and a number of them have moved on to the college level and are making inroads even on their university campuses around green efforts as well. So we're grateful for our state partners as well. The gentleman that you all may know by the name of Senator Glenn Ivey. Has been
Congressman.
Congressman Glenn Ivey.
Don't upset anybody.
Has been huge in terms of what this looks like. Director Paul Pinsky, the Maryland Energy Administration, has also been a major player in what this looks like as well.
Now, do you all have composting from school food waste?
So we do, and that's a part of the process that we're focusing on as well. We actually have a compost center that allows for students to come out and understand what this looks like. And I'm a country boy from Oklahoma, born and raised, and it was a way of life in a number of the small communities that my parents grew up in. So to see this happening and watch our students learn this process, appreciate this process, and know what it means to be able to compost and clean our air and understand what it can mean for our future is definitely a beautiful thing.
No, excellent. I'm really proud of our school system for that. It's really great.
So, Superintendent, we've as you know, we're in the month of October, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We just did a town hall the other evening with many key stakeholders, very, very informative to the community, and really looking at where we are, what we need to do, and kind of where we need to move forward as a community, as a government. And one of the things that came up in the meeting was concerns about the school-based wellness centers. Where are we with that? The implementation of that, is that an area that we need to grow on as a government, as a school system? Just wanted to hear from you on that.
Absolutely. And Vice Chair, what I will say is the health and wellness centers for students and staff is one of our top priorities. We know that mental health specifically has been a major issue, especially post-COVID, and it plays a major role. If you don't have a child that comes to school, and I used to say this all the time, and they're not okay, then we can't expect them to learn what we know that we want them to learn. We can't expect them to accomplish their optimal ability. So we currently offer free health service through our telehealth, which is an opportunity for our students through Hazel Health to reach out and have support through a therapist at pretty much any time. And I encourage any family that has not signed up for the service to really have that conversation with their child, making sure that they're okay. I also really want to point out that PGCPS has actually been recognized for the third consecutive year as one of the top 10% of the schools in the U.S. for the whole child education. So we're excited about what that looks like. Now, one of the things as a resident in this community is that we're down 1,000 doctors. I usually like to get out there and
So bus drivers and doctors, you're down.
we are.
Okay.
But that affects everything.
Yeah.
You have a teacher, councilman, an educator that can't get in for an appointment in a timely manner.
Yeah.
There's a lot of residual things that happen
Tell me
beyond
about it. I didn't have a primary care physician for a while because mine retired and finding another one, and I was so invested in finding one in Prince George's County who was a woman. It was hard, but I
Yeah.
did it.
Well, I was in that.
And that
in
cultural
same boat.
competency thing is very important, what you're speaking on.
Right.
Yeah. So the 1,000 medical professionals that you might be down in the school system, what are we doing to really work with our state and our county to really make sure that we're all aware that we're down on these numbers, but we need to improve? Is there anything that, basically what we could do from a local government to make
Yep.
sure that we're assisting you in eradicating the challenge?
And just to clarify, Vice Chair, we're in the county as a whole, not necessarily the school system. As you look at the entire county,
Yeah,
Because we're one ecosystem.
yeah, one ecosystem.
we're down about 1,000 doctors in comparison to where we should be as a county. So that doesn't necessarily. But we are doing everything. One of the things that we're exploring currently is potentially looking at clinics where our employees, whether that be school district, county employees as a whole, can potentially, go to clinics that we start.
But I
as well.
thought that's what the wellness centers were.
Well,
Yep. So you've got a couple different pieces. You've got community
Okay.
schools that potentially have the wellness centers in them. So we've got two different pieces here.
Do we have any open right now?
I don't know that we have any that have opened, but I can get you a list and find out. But we're exploring the opportunity for doing this for employees as well.
okay.
The wellness centers in our community schools that we're talking about would be more so for students, and so it's definitely whether it's the student one or the staff one, they're both very important.
Seems like you could have one to serve both.
Yeah.
We're exploring it all
Yeah.
at this juncture. Definitely.
Well, they could also be helpful with one problem I know you've been having with younger kids as they're kind of coming into the school system, not having their vaccines up to date.
Yeah.
And that is so important because if they don't have their vaccines, they can't come to school.
And if they can't come to school,
That
you
we
know,
don't get the money from the state
you're absolutely
for that
correct.
the way it
child. And
goes.
maybe the child eventually gets them, but if it's past whatever date in September
We
that
lost out.
gets counted, yeah,
Absolutely. Well,
we don't get paid
it's
for that.
definitely an issue, and we've
Domino effect.
looked at some different models around the state. I think the dosages have been difficult to come around, but it is an issue. It was an issue my first year here. I think it's been an issue for several years, and it's something that we definitely want to continue to strategize around to make certain
Right.
that we get more kids immunized.
Sure, and with the health impacts that come with not being immunized, it's just so important.
Absolutely.
We've seen that with COVID. I mean, when we
Yeah.
finally were able to get a vaccine, it really did help
Mhm.
bring down the numbers of people getting it and people dying.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for coming.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
Really
And-
appreciate it. It won't be the last time.
And I would like to thank all the 20,000 employees of the Prince George's County Public School Systems, the principals. I know the chair feels the same way.
Oh yeah, my
Teachers
dad,
do make a difference
my
in the
dad
classroom.
and one of our sons.
Yes,
was a
the
public school
custodians,
teacher
the bus drivers, the healthcare workers.
We dearly
You know.
appreciate that. I actually visited 6 schools in the Suitland community yesterday. I try to spend my Wednesdays or Thursdays in schools. And last year I had a chance to visit about 70, and we'll look forward to doing that. And that's one of the things that I always do. I always go to the cafeteria. I always
the
find
cafeteria,
that custodian. Always hit some classrooms to thank them.
Yeah,
You know, on
it's
behalf
important
of all of us.
because all that work is important,
Absolutely.
and they're touching and making an impact in the lives of our young scholars through their educational journey. And we don't take that for granted. The work that you do each and every day, we're truly humble, but we're grateful for you all.
Absolutely. We appreciate you all
Thank
as
you.
well and your leadership.
And thanks so much for listening in on Council Conversations.